it pretty much was almost immediate where I just started drinking daily, but it was only in the afternoon. And then being pulled out of work and not having anything to do, it was like early afternoon or noon or as soon as I wake up. And it was getting to the point where I didn't even know what time it was because it was dark outside. And I didn't know if it was the morning or the evening or whatever. And I was getting really, really bad. And I would be waiting for a gas station to open up at 6 so that way I can buy more alcohol to continue my day. Because I'd be up at 4 because I probably fell asleep at like 4 in the afternoon the day before. I was drinking enough to the point where I was ruining my relationship with my kids. And they were it was almost like a joke to them that I was drunk again. Which is embarrassing. I was still coming to church and I would bring my kids, but I was like really hungover almost every time I was here, and I kind of like was able to hide behind them because I was still doing the good Christian image thing by bringing my kids to church. Even though I was about to like leave and get drunk or go across the street and buy beer before I went home. It was a change in my mind of finally accepting that I had to quit that finally helped me get there. And of course I immediately called my mom because I was like, did you have like a prayer circle for me? Because I don't want to drink anymore. I finally am accepting that this isn't something I want to do with my life. And I knew it was going to be hard, but I knew it had to happen. And the one thing that I told myself was, I kept trying to be like, if I keep drinking, something really bad is going to happen. I'm going to drive and crash into a minivan and kill a family and spend the rest of my life in jail. Something was going to happen. I just felt that it was coming. And I knew if I didn't make a change at that point, that's where I was going to go. That was the path. That was leading to death. I could feel it. And so on Sunday, December 9th, I woke up and I came to church and I made the choice, the decision that this is my quitting day. The first day after you quit drinking, or I suppose lots of addictions, you're really strong and you're like, yes, I'm going to do this. I got this. This is easy. I can do it. I'm going to go forever without my addiction. It's the second and third and fourth day that are really hard because all of a sudden you realize, oh man, I am running out of steam and this is not as easy as I thought. So, since I didn't have any work to do to keep my mind busy, I called Steven Skinner. I said to Steven, I was like, listen, I'm trying to quit drinking. I need something to keep my mind occupied or else I'm going to go crazy thinking about it. So he's like, yeah, well, there was a lot of leaves that didn't get raked up because we had a snowstorm, but now the snow had melted, so we needed leaves raked up, and they were really wet. So he's like, why don't you come and rake leaves, and I'll pay you some money to do it. And I was like, no, I want to volunteer because I'm a good guy, and I want to just help out and volunteer. And he said, okay, because he's a great guy, and let me volunteer. So all day long on a Monday because I wasn't working at the time, I spent the day raking wet leaves, and I had a massive headache. Like, you wouldn't believe it hurt so bad, and my hands were shaking from withdrawal. Like I was just like, so I'm standing there raking leaves. I didn't bring gloves because I don't know, I would have been smart. But all day long I'm raking leaves, and my fingers were blistered all the way across and on the backs of my thumbs here, and it hurt for like a week straight. Like I couldn't feel anything but this pain in my hands. And as I'm raking the wet leaves, I'm thinking, why did I say I would do this as volunteer work? I just want to, I could have got paid for this. So I'm raking leaves, and but I kept on telling myself that I was doing it as a free man. I was doing it as somebody who wasn't under the control of something else. And so for me, it was better than anything anybody could have paid me. I had to change my thought process on when I did something about what truly made me enjoy the experience and what made me happy. Because alcohol was stealing that away from me. I used to bring my kids to church as a mask that I could hide behind. Because that's what I've been doing my whole life anyway, is hiding behind this guy that's got it all together when inside I didn't. But now, when I come to church and I bring my kids, I feel a peace that I didn't used to have. I've been sober for just over a year. It's been a year and a month now, and I'm just starting to learn that quitting drinking wasn't the only thing that I needed to change in my life. Just the simple things like eating healthier or exercising, and Jimmy talked about that at church, were some of the small things that I continually need to do. Another thing is being a good example of a Christian father to my kids. That's something that I'm still learning how to do right. And I wish it was easier to just, sometimes I feel like that's just as hard as quitting drinking, is always watching your mouth or keeping the focus on God and grace and forgiveness instead of discipline. And it's a thing that I'm hoping to continue to do with where the journey that I'm on now. As big of a task it is to break an addiction like alcohol, taking it one small step or change at a time will ultimately break the mindset or addiction that you're dealing with. And instead of focusing on where am I going to be in a year, I just try to get through that day, sometimes through that hour. It's often the small things that nobody sees that lead to the big differences that everybody wants.